HOA Karen called the cops while I planted on my ranch. I had to shut down her $5 million plot of land. Have you ever had the cops called on you for digging holes on your own land? Because I did. And it set off a chain of events so twisted, so gloriously ironic, that it ended with the very woman who tried to steal my peace losing everything, including her $5 million development deal. I was planting sage and blue oak saplings on a ridge my family's owned since 1951. It's the backline of my ranch, nothing but scrub, sun, and soil that's been in our blood for 3 generations. My late granddad used to say, if you can dig into your land and feel its pulse, you'll know it's still yours. Apparently, Karen didn't agree. She waddled up in her tennis whites, clipboard under one arm, and a Bluetooth headset blinking like a distress beacon. Obese and red-faced from climbing the hill, she pointed a trembling finger at me as if I'd just committed a war crime. "Stop right there," she shrieked. "You can't dig there. That's community land." I blinked, looked at the shovel in my hand, then at her, then back at the freshly tilled earth where I'd planted 12 native seedlings in a neat line. "Karen," I said, try not to laugh. "This is my ranch. Always has been." She stormed closer, waving the clipboard like it was holy scripture. "This parcel borders Ridgeview Phase 3. According to the HOA expansion map, it's slated for Greenbelt transition. That means it's community managed now." "You mean your fake map drawn on Google Earth?" I asked, wiping sweat off my brow. "Because my deed says otherwise." Karen narrowed her eyes, her whole face pinched together like a lemon being juiced. "I'm calling the sheriff," she snapped. "You're vandalizing protected land." And just like that, she turned and marched down the hill, grunting with each step, and called 911 on speakerphone loud enough for the birds to scatter. I finished planting while she talked. 10 minutes later, the deputies arrived. I greeted them calmly at the gate with a cooler full of lemonade and a laminated copy of my land deed. County seal, survey lines, parcel number, full mineral and surface rights, including reforestation allowances under the State Conservation Incentive Act. Karen showed up puffing, hair frizzed from the heat, clutching her clipboard like it might give her legal immunity. "Arrest him," she demanded, pointing at me. "He's defacing HOA-managed terrain." The deputy glanced at my documents, then at hers. Hers? A black and white satellite printout with a faded HOA watermark and a hand-drawn red boundary line that somehow cut directly through my barn. "Ma'am," the deputy said, straight-faced, "this isn't a legal boundary document. And unless you have formal jurisdiction filed with the county assessor, this gentleman is well within his rights." Karen's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. But we've claimed this area for future HOA-controlled development." "You claimed it," I said, finally laughing. "What is this colonial HOAism?" That's when twist number 1 hit. The deputy leaned in and muttered, "Sir, would you mind if I ran her name through county zoning records?" "Be my guest," I said. Turns out, Karen hadn't just been making noise. She'd been filing unauthorized paperwork to illegally extend HOA jurisdiction. She had submitted fraudulent HOA maps to the city planning office attempting to incorporate my border parcel into a pending rezoning for luxury development. Her goal? Seize my ridge, label it common space, then sell access rights to a developer for a new $5 million hilltop subdivision. And guess what land she didn't have rights to? Mine. Twist number 2, my land wasn't just protected under private ranch zoning. Thanks to an old conservation partnership my father had signed in the 80s, any attempt to develop within 100 feet of our reforested area triggers a federal review. That meant her entire project? Dead in the water. I filed an injunction the next morning with the help of a very excited attorney from the state Soil and Wildlife Bureau. Within 2 weeks, Karen received a cease and desist letter from the Department of Environmental Protection, and so did the developer she'd been secretly courting. Her $5 million subdivision shut down. Her future HOA Greenbelt, legally marked as ineligible for modification without federal clearance. And me? I was issued a new conservation award and tax credit for expanding wildlife buffer zones. The local paper ran a headline that read, "Local rancher stops HOA land grab with a shovel and a smile." Karen stopped showing her face in public after that. The HOA board voted her out within a month, claiming misuse of authority and unauthorized land actions. But everyone knew the truth. She tried to steal land with paperwork and lies. I shut her down with seedlings and sunlight. Want the full final act, how she tried to sue, the courtroom twist, and how I turned her bluff into permanent federal protection. Karen, of course, didn't go down quietly. A week after her project was shut down, she filed a lawsuit. She claimed I had defamed her, interfered with a lawful HOA development opportunity, and intentionally planted invasive species to halt construction. Her suit was 23 pages long and filled with phrases like irreparable trauma and communal betrayal. Her lawyer? A freshly minted real estate attorney who looked like he learned law from daytime court TV. My legal team? The State's Conservation Alliance, a pro bono litigator from a rancher's defense fund, and just for fun, a retired environmental prosecutor who happened to be my late father's best friend. The trial lasted 3 days, and by noon on day one, Karen had already perjured herself. She claimed she had verbal agreements from the county to extend the HOA's reach. The judge asked for names. She didn't have any. She claimed my saplings were a fire risk. The fire marshal submitted a statement verifying they were part of an approved firebreak system under grant funding. She claimed emotional damage. I submitted photos of her celebrating the HOA's future development victory at a catered brunch the same day she filed the original complaint. But the moment that silenced the courtroom? Twist number 3. We pulled up a drone video taken by a local land steward volunteer showing Karen standing at the top of the ridge, directing bulldozers onto protected soil, weeks before her expansion map had been submitted. Not only was she trespassing, she had knowingly destroyed 2 flagged, nesting trees marked as habitat for a protected hawk species. Gasps echoed. The judge sat still for several seconds before simply saying, "I've heard enough." Karen's case was dismissed. She was fined $125,000 in environmental penalties, and the judge recommended criminal investigation into fraud and false land filings. Her personal assets were frozen pending review. The developer she worked with pulled out of Ridgeview entirely. And her house? Well, poetic justice came knocking. Due to her actions, the value of homes in the expansion area plummeted overnight. Buyers walked, permits were revoked, and the HOA's insurance, thanks to her pending charges, refused to cover any legal fallout from her decisions. She was forced to sell her home just to cover part of the judgment. I bought it, not to live in it, not to spite her, but to donate it to the local wildlife conservation agency as a new field office. The irony? They planted native gardens on what used to be her driveway. And me? I still walk my ridge every morning, saplings growing stronger by the day, birdsong rising with the sun. No fences, no bulldozers, just soil, peace, and memory. And right at the top of the hill, beside the oldest blue oak, there's a wooden post I carved by hand. Burned into it are the words, "Some roots run deeper than greed." So now I ask you, when someone calls the cops on you for planting life into your own land, who really deserves to be uprooted? The end.